Hey, everybody. Welcome to Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. I am Darren Smith, along with Marty Caswell. You can subscribe to Friar Territory on YouTube. You can find it wherever it is that you find your audio podcasts. It is hot in San Diego County. It is really, really warm, but not as hot, Marty, as the San Diego Padres, who have taken a series against the Milwaukee Brewers. They have gone back-to-back against first-place teams. Yes, the Houston Astros, now the Milwaukee Brewers. We are recording before Game 3 of the 3-game series at Petco Park against the Brewers. I thought about that introduction all morning, Marty. Did I stick the landing or what? Hot in San Diego, but not as hot as the Friars at Petco Park.
That is a Don Orsillo Petco Park-esque open. I really, really like that. I think you should go ahead and take that copy, send it to Don Orsillo, and that can be in his open when he does the opening at Petco Park on TV and here at the ballpark. You nail the open. That is perfect. Or maybe you could say not as hot as Jackson Merrill or the Padres starting rotation. It's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of different directions you could go here.
Yes.
I look up to all of these broadcast icons. Of course, the king of the segue here locally, our friendly neighborhood sportscaster, Ben Higgins. Hopefully I get a stamp of approval from him. So it's also a way just of warning the audience that is watching on YouTube that if Marty and I just burst into flames and start sweating profusely during the recording of the show, please understand if you're watching from somewhere outside of San Diego County. Neither one of us have air conditioning, so we're just going through it. But Marty, seriously, back-to-back wins against first-place teams. I know we can sort of chuckle a bit, I suppose, about the Houston Astros. They came into town a couple of games over 500, but the Brewers are the best team in all of baseball, according to the record. They are a team that has backed up a couple of winning seasons with another one where it looks like they are going to, at least as we're recording here in the midway point of August, they're going to be one of the top seeds in the National League, barring something completely unforeseen. And the Padres win on a Jackson Merrill home run in game number 1. And then they just completely dominate. We could talk about the offense, which scored 11 runs, which erupted for 11 runs. You were at Petco Park, and it sounds like the crowd erupted. The vibes are good. Clubhouse vibes are good. Fans are back. It feels like everybody now, whether we were thinking buyers, sellers, which camp were you in? It feels like everybody now is sort of the wind in the sail of the San Diego Padres. So we don't know what's going to happen in game number 3. But in terms of what the decision-making was and what some of the conversations were, you have to think, this is maybe a season high in vibes for the Padres.
I like that. Season high in vibes, Darren. I want to say that maybe the last time that we did a mailbag here on Friar Territory, right? And that was, I want to say that was right before the trade deadline. I would say it was 70-30 on Padres fans wanting this team to go ahead and sell and get ready for the uncertain off season, maybe retool, maybe go ahead and blow this thing up, trade everybody, trade, Tatis, attach Bogart's contract, trade Mason Miller, trade Morahone, and get ready for who knows what with this new ownership group, start a new era fresh. And we talked about the vibes of Petco Park. It felt dead. And to your point, this homestand, the Padres have played some of their best baseball of the season, and the games have been entertaining. The offense has been good. The defense has been clean. They're playing a more of a style that we expected from them back in April. I would also, how many Padres fans right now are willing to admit they wanted this team to sell? What are we talking about right now, Darren, if the Padres did not add Casey Mize, did not add Robbie Ray, did not mean that they sold some of their pieces rather than trying to go for it this season? You never know what's going to happen. In the case of the San Diego Padres, they happen to be playing their best baseball of 2026 when it matters the most.
If you missed our previous episode, we had Padres pitcher Kyle Hart on the show, and he said something about a series that the Padres were in before they came home and rattled off a bunch of wins in a row right before the trade deadline, where he talked about a series in Miami. And I remember you and I talking about that series because the Padres took the first 2 games against the Miami Marlins. They were trailing in game number 3, and Manny Machado hit a huge home run in that game. Jackson Merrill may have also homered in that game. He's homered in so many of them, I can't even keep count now. But I thought that was interesting because I remember you and I saying that showed us something, that they weren't content. They weren't satisfied with themselves because they won the first 2 games in Miami. They went out there. They were trailing in the 3rd game of that series. They came from behind. Manny hit a massive home run, and it felt like a statement. And since then, this has looked like a totally different team, regardless of competition. there were still some naysayers right before the trade deadline because they were beating up on bad teams. We all understand that, but you can only play who you're playing, who the schedule puts in front of you. But now they've gone back-to-back against good teams since the trade deadline as well. They split with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They won against the Houston Astros, and now they've at least won the series against the Milwaukee Brewers. By the time people watch or listen to this, they might have swept or they might have won 2 out of 3. We don't know. But either way, I think people would say that this is successful as they're on their way to Cleveland, right? Keep your fingers crossed that, this doesn't come back to haunt us. So from that standpoint, I thought Kyle Hart's analysis was interesting, that really did feel like a pivot point, because you say so many things when you do shows like this. One day to the next, you might think that they are buyers, or one day to the next, you might think that they are sellers. And you might get fed up with this guy or that guy or this coach or whatever. But it's such a long, and like, it just takes such a mental discipline to be a fan of the sport, to play the sport, to coach the sport, to be involved with the sport. I think that really, this is a good time to remember, the vibes a couple of weeks ago were not great. There was way more on the scale on the side of selling Adrian Morejon, at least considering selling Mason Miller. And now, even with 40 games to go, we might have another couple of peaks and valleys. Let's be honest, right? There's still plenty of time for us to develop a little bit of a hatred for this team. These are just the way these things work. But yes, as of today, Marty, it does. I mean, in hindsight, it certainly feels like, gosh, what were we talking about? What were people actually talking about then? So yes, I think your point is a fair one. But again, these things sometimes can be a little bit temporary, both the good and the bad of the sport, which is what makes it so unique.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and read you something from the Padres game notes entering into Wednesday's game, all right? Let's see. Per Fangraphs, they have the second lowest remaining strength of schedule in the National League. They also have the second best record in baseball since July 24th, going 14-4. We know the accolades and the numbers on Jackson Merrill. Darren, I'd ask you this right now, okay? Are you more encouraged by the starting pitching that we have seen? And we can talk about Casey Mize. I love this note. Casey Mize and Walker Buehler with back-to-back quality starts. The first time the Padres have done that since April 25th and 26th against the Arizona. That was a Mexico City trip. So are you more encouraged by the offense because they are being carried by their stars? And we can talk about Tatis passing a record that you and I never thought would be broken. You especially, that was your big baby. Is it more about the offense, or is it more about the pitching, or is it the fact that, lo and behold, the Padres have both things clicking at the same time? Something that did not really happen this season for them.
I think it's probably a bit of both, but we know what the Padres did at the trade deadline. They addressed what was the biggest weakness, and they trusted that their offense would figure some things out. You mentioned back-to-back quality starts, which is a stat, Marty, that not everybody loves. Granted, 6 innings, 3 runs or less, right? What sort of stat is that? But it is baseball vernacular. And I think your friend Kevin Acee followed that up with 4 out of the last 8. 4 out of the last 8 starts by a Padres starting pitcher have been of the quality start variety. So I would say it's probably that, because you could have this amazing offense and this amazing bullpen, but the whole pitching chaos thing, even the Padres themselves sort of suggested through their behavior at the trade deadline that this probably wasn't going to sustain itself through the end of the regular season. And one guy in particular, Marty, since we're talking and it's Wednesday morning, that I want to talk about when we come back is Walker Buehler. Because, Walker Buehler, as we're talking about players who make a lot more money than Walker Buehler, we can talk about Michael King. We could talk about the 2 players that were brought in here at the trade deadline. You will have an update about Joe Musgrove and about Nick Pivetta, who we're seeing throwing on the field at Petco Park on Wednesday. But I do want to spend a minute when we come back talking about Walker Buehler and hearing what it was that he had to say after Tuesday night's outing. So we'll do that when we return on Friar Territory. Stick around.
People, dehydration sucks. Quince electrolyte stick packs to the rescue. I order them. I use them all of the time.
Listen, as somebody who may or may not have had some adult beverages in their life, the next day, you know what flavor I like? Watermelon. And I don't like watermelon, I'll go raspberry, and it helps me to get my citrus salt in. But if I do, it helps me to get back to normal, feeling good, and ready to go the next day.
Yep, tough workout or dry mouth in the morning, whatever it is, this is going to help you out. Quince always has the best deals for you. You can go on their website and see a number of products. We're talking about not only a product that tastes great, but has zero sugar options that are also stevia free. Give your body what it really needs to stay hydrated. Go to quince.com/foul for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/FOUL for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/foul. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome back to Friar Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. You can go to foulterritoryshop.com. Shop the latest Friar Territory gear. That's Marty Caswell. I am Darren Smith. So we're recording on Wednesday, and Walker Buehler started his 24th game for the San Diego Padres on Tuesday night, which is as many as Michael King, which is as many. Nobody has started more for the San Diego Padres than Michael King and Walker Buehler. Let's hear what Walker Buehler had to say, Marty. After this game, you were there. I find Walker Buehler, I think a lot of people have moved on.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Moved on from his time with the LA Dodgers.
Yes.
I think for the most part, right? Early on the season, people thought he was a spy. Like he wasn't pitching well enough. People thought he was a secret agent here to sabotage the Padres in 2026. But I think people have really warmed to him. Set this up for us. This is him post-game on Tuesday night after beating the Brewers.
That's it. That's the setup. Well done.
Was this one start to finish, you and the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously when the offense gives you a little bit of cushion like that, you can pitch a little bit differently and try and really get ahead. And yeah, kind of a good night all around.
Even that weird, I think, third inning, I think you only threw like 13 pitches. Like, what was the key to the efficiency for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're throwing a lot of, these days I'm throwing a lot of two-seam cutter, which is, pitches you want the ball put in play. And, when you put it in the zone, hopefully good stuff happens. And tonight was a good example of that.
You said this is maybe your best outing of the year. Would you agree that assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've only had 4 quality starts this year maybe, so definitely in the conversation. I think Texas was probably the best that I felt physically and the 2 games against Philly, but this one's up there for sure.
What did you learn from your time here about pitching at run support when you get that lead and how to kind of attack it?
I mean, coming up as a young guy, I had a left-hander in LA that would, if I missed an 0-0 anything with a lead like that, he would kind of come down on you pretty good. So that's kind of the one and only thing that I carry along is when you have a lead, you got to throw all strikes.
How's the team feeling just overall right now? You guys getting some health back offensively and defensively in a pretty good spot this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the front office's kind of approach to the deadline, I think, does nothing but help us. Obviously, going and getting us some players, and Austin's been great since he's gotten here, and so I think the end of the year is about who's playing the best at the end, and not necessarily about who wins in April and May. And it's been nice, and obviously, we're kind of clicking in a way that we haven't this year. So hopefully get a win tomorrow and kind of keep moving forward. Thanks.
That was Walker Buehler Tuesday night after he picks up his 7th win, which, by the way, trails only Randy Vasquez. I know pitchers' wins and losses. These aren't things that we necessarily attribute to pitchers anymore. But, I do think there's a little something sometimes that we can glean from that. I think the more important numbers, Marty, and listen, he's not a guy that's going to wow you with the ERA. He's not a guy that's going to wow you with some of the more modern metrics, right? Some of the underlying numbers you look, and whether it's FIP, your favorite stat, or some of the others, it's not somebody you're going to go, wow, like this is somebody who, has really, really. But when you get a guy that's given you 24 starts, which, by the way, is as many as Marquez, Giolito, Sears, and Waldron combined, since they all were in the conversation in spring training, these guys were all lumped in together in the same kind of conversation. He's had as many starts as those 4 players combined for the Padres. He's gotten you 7 wins with only 5 losses. His Ks per 9 is pretty good. It's right up there with Michael King. And I think most importantly, Marty, he's gone 114 innings pitched this year plus, which, doesn't seem like a lot as we're in the middle of August, but it's the second most on the team behind only Michael King. And at a time where they were throwing anybody and everybody, Marty almost started a game for this team. I do think that we can take a second to appreciate the contributions of Walker Buehler, especially given that if you were to ask any Padre fan, how would you set up your postseason rotation today? They would probably say King and Mize, and they'd probably go Robbie Ray.
Maybe.
And then maybe they'd say maybe Musgrove would come back, and now Pavetta's throwing a little bit, so who knows what his future is. And I'm not suggesting that he's going to be on his way out of town. I don't think the Padres would do that. But I say that I think he's been an unheralded player for this team up until this point where we are in the middle of August, and not a lot of people predicted that he could do that.
Where would the Padres be without Walker Buehler? Does he kind of remind you of Matt Waldron's role from a couple years ago, from that postseason team, where the Padres. But better, yes.
Because nobody really knew Matt Waldron,
right.
And everybody thought at some point like this was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and it couldn't be real, and it probably was unfair to Matt Waldron. But you're right in terms of by the end of the year, you look and you're like, yo, if it wasn't for that guy, I don't know exactly where this team would have been, because he pitched a lot of important games and picked up a lot of innings. And I just think that should be pointed out. And I'm sure it probably has been. This probably isn't unique to Friar Territory. But I do like the guy. I do like listening to the guy. I think he's interesting, even there what he's talking about with Clayton Kershaw. I like the cut of his jib, Marty. I think he's got some personality. I think he's got a little bit of experience, and I've enjoyed listening to him. Again, I'm not writing him off because you don't know the way these things are going to unfold. But I just do think when you take a second to stop and think, like, of all of these names that Preller kind of threw up against the wall, going back to Peoria.
You wanted one of them to stick.
The guy that is still here standing tall.
Right. They wanted one guy to stick, and he's been the guy. And he's forced his argument into the rotation. He's been very good. He really has.
And again,
and he's
like
healthy.
I said, I mean, it might be overlooked now because we're watching Casey Mize. And nobody, as the time of we're recording here, we don't know what Robbie Ray is going to look like. And we're seeing Joe Musgrove and we're seeing Nick Pivetta. And if these are guys that somehow get healthy, and it certainly appears like we're talking more realistically about Musgrove than we are about Pivetta, but we don't know that. And, I don't know how this is going to unfold over the next 40 games of the regular season and what this role might be for Walker Buehler moving forward. But I just do think he's been a little bit of an unsung hero for this team this year. And people think it's overrated to talk about innings and all that sort of thing. I don't. I really don't. And a guy who's undergone 2 Tommy John surgeries has come back here and thrown 115 innings, not all of them great. Sometimes he got his ass kicked out there on the mound. And he stood up there, answered questions, and said, I got to be better next time through. And I just think he's been, a more important piece perhaps than maybe everybody realizes.
He's been a valuable. No, that's great. That's well done. He's been a valuable cog. We're going to go ahead and see what happens at what his fit will be with the Padres. Again, it's an if when certain guys come back. Now, you mentioned Joe Musgrove, Darren. He threw a bullpen today at Petco Park. Again, we'll talk to him hopefully in post game to see how he came out of that. Actually, that already happened. But Joe did say, based on how he's feeling, he expects to have his 3rd rehab start in El Paso on Friday. I have no idea what the plan is for Joe Pivetta. Joe Pivetta for Nick Pivetta. I mean, again, I am feeling much more optimistic on Musgrove coming back in the near future. Now, when he spoke a couple days ago, he mentioned the idea if everything goes great, maybe 1 rehab start. I think he wanted to get up to 75 pitches. It could be 2. But then again, with what you're seeing from this Padres rotation, he doesn't have to rush back. He has the luxury of time. Again, he said that AJ Preller wants him to be able to be built up and pitch deep into games in September. And the schedule is really tough to end the season for the Padres and, of course, into the postseason, hopefully. That's the plan. No idea what the plan is for Pivetta. But for Joe, we have a bit of a timeline. Unofficially.
Right. And now all of a sudden you look around, and you could rightfully say, again, these things kind of change. So, you never want to get too far ahead of yourself, believing that all of these things are going to remain exactly static the way they are here today. But King and Mize and Ray, and all of a sudden now you're thinking, okay, Randy Vasquez has, started his comeback tour.
Yep.
And Walker Buehler's been there. Every time his turn has come up in the rotation, he's been there. Hasn't always been great, but it's been appreciated, at least on this show. And now you're starting to talk about some other players there as well, and who also knows what sort of mixing and matching you might be willing to do between now and by the time if you head into the playoffs. Now, the Padres are in a 3-team tie in the wild card, right? So again, the record will have changed by the time people watch this or listen to this, but they are at least on record tied with the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. So you might be asking, well, how does a 3-team, we all know about head-to-head, how does a 3-team tie? What are the tiebreakers there? I will just post this on the screen on YouTube. I'm not going to spend a million hours on this because it's confusing. But it comes down to if one club has a better record against clubs 2 and 3, right? If one club is better than the other two clubs, then that club is going to qualify. They're going to pick up the wild card spot. And I bring this up for this reason. We know that the Padres are 0-6 against the Phillies. They are currently 5-5 against the Diamondbacks.
The final series to go at Petco Park.
Correct. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 2-1 against the Phillies. There's one more series to go, August 31st, September 1st, September 2nd. So the Diamondbacks still have to play the Phillies 3 times, which feels important in terms of these tiebreakers here. And then, if one club doesn't have a winning record against the other two, we go into winning percentage amongst other clubs and intra-division and all sorts of stuff that I won't bother with today because it just is crazy. But it's just to point out, Padres Diamondbacks have split their 10 games, 5-5. Padres 0-6 against the Phillies, so would lose the tiebreaker there. Just think, there's some important baseball games for the Diamondbacks, 3 with the Phillies, 3 to end the season with the Padres. So if you're wondering what happens in the event of a 3-team tie, there it is. It is who has the best record amongst the teams that are in possession of the final wild card spot. So I don't know that there's a clear advantage here, Marty. I don't think so, because we have to wait and see what happens. First between the Diamondbacks and the Phillies before we worry about what's going to happen at the end of the regular season with the Padres and the Diamondbacks. But just to toss it out there, just tuck it away, put it on the back burner. We'll discuss it somewhere down the road if we have to.
Darren, do you have to screenshot it into your phone? Will you be carrying a paper copy in your wallet so you can have it handy? Now, those are the tiebreakers, so we're sure. Like run differential is not going to be a possible tiebreaker, right?
No.
For these
sport.
Teams.
No,
okay.
Goal differential, no, totally.
Goal differential, okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, good thing indeed. And also a quick mention before we take our final timeout and come back and give a little love to Fernando Tatis
Yes.
Jr. I mean, Luis Rengifo.
Yep.
We're so used to seeing this happen to the Padres that some guy that they have traded or some guy that they have moved on from absolutely kills them in a big spot. It's nice to be on the other side of that.
Craig Stammen had that exact same line last night. I'm telling you this right now. Like when I hear Craig Stammen speak, right, you get the appreciation that he's just a true San Diego Padre because he has seen everything. He is well aware of revenge has, no fury like an ex-Padre coming to Petco Park, an Adrian Gonzalez, a Jed Jerko, or anybody else. Any former Padre expect to get burned. And Craig Stammen knows that he's seen it. He's probably given it up a couple times when he was on the mound. So for him, it was Rengifo against the Brewers team that DFA'd him, last month or 2 months ago, whenever it was.
And
So
credit to the baseball operations department too, because they're constantly scouring out here. Is it Austin Hayes? Is it Luis Rengifo? We'll just keep adding players. We'll just keep shuffling them in and out. And maybe something will happen.
Right. Samad Taylor was the spark plug for a while. And again, I don't know if we see Samad Taylor again this season because of the oblique injury, but with how he's playing, and we're thinking Andujar will be back maybe early September, perhaps sooner than that. I think the Padres are going to perhaps, wrist fracture. We'll see what happens, but feeling pretty good about what's happening in left field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, vibes are high. When we come back, Tatis and an ownership update. That's next on Friar Territory. Tell you what, it's absolutely buzzing here in San Diego. I'm already looking ahead on the schedule, and I can see New York is coming to town. I can already think about what it's going to be like at Petco Park. Should that final series against the Diamondbacks mean something? And Marty, nobody asked me for tickets. I'm going to tell you the same thing. SeatGeek is where I go when I'm looking for my baseball tickets, when I'm looking for tickets to any sporting event, to any concert. SeatGeek, it's an app that you have to have on your phone. It'll rate the tickets for you. It'll tell you if you're getting a good deal. Download this app. 70 million people can't be wrong. 35 million downloads. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. And if you want to go to a baseball game this year, tickets are going to be hard to come by. Here's our recommendation. SeatGeek.
Darren, I'm scoreboard watching. I'm looking ahead to the final 6 games of the season. 3 at the Dodgers, at Dodger Stadium. The final 3 against Arizona Diamondbacks. The both series should be meaningful. If you're a Padres fan, you want to go to LA, you want to go to San Diego, simplify it. There's one place to go. It is SeatGeek.
And if you've never used SeatGeek before, understand this. SeatGeek is MLB's official ticket marketplace. Your tickets are fully guaranteed, instantly fulfilled into your account after you purchase, right? Like we've all seen stories from other places. That's not a concern there with SeatGeek. And yes, we have a code for you guys, Territory 10. You get 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. Just click the link in the description. Download the app, have that code automatically added to your account. Thank you, SeatGeek. Welcome back to Friar Territory, final segment. Tuesday night, Fernando Tatis Jr. hit his 164th home run, his 164th career home run, and obviously his 164th as a Padres. So he moves into second on the all-time list. Marty alluded to this. For those that maybe are new to Padres coverage, Marty and I did a radio show for 20 years here in town, and pretty much every day I complain, nothing against Nate Colbert, who set the all-time Padre home run record a million years ago, that the Padres home run total was the lowest in the sport, lower than the Marlins, lower than the Tampa Bay Rays. Expansion teams came in decades after the Padres joined Major League Baseball in 1969. Again, people used to say, why do you hate Nate Colbert? I don't. Nate Colbert was an important part of this club's history. But that was a record that stood for way too long.
55 years, Darren. 55 years.
And a couple of years ago, Manny Machado broke it, and then Fernando Tatis Jr. hit his 164th. And I don't find that to be insignificant. I know it's a stat, it's an individual number, whatever. But to see two players pass this over the last couple of years, Marty, is it commentary about the Seidler era, about A.J. Preller? Is it? I suppose I think it is. Now, again, if everybody's concerned more about winning and only making one NLCS, I can certainly appreciate that conversation. But to have that record for 55 years, to me, respectfully towards Nate Colbert, seriously, the Padres didn't have any stars when they started in 1969, but that's crazy. And we lived through Phil Nevin's approach to that record. We lived through Adrian Gonzalez's approach to that record. These guys came very close and were traded right before the record, right? They were right there. They were just like a week away from breaking that record, and they didn't. And again, I understand that this isn't the most important thing, but I do think seeing two different players pass that over the last couple of years, Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., the two most popular players on this team, I don't think that that's nothing, not the most important thing, but as somebody who moaned about this for 20 years, I will say it is satisfying to see two players go past this.
It's liberating because the Padres used to trade these players. Like they would have these great players, and you know what happened? Bye-bye. Oh, you're getting close to Nate's record? See ya. We're going to trade you to the Baltimore Orioles, even though you have a no-trade clause contract. And I think it's something that Fernando alluded to in his very joyous post-game yesterday, not just talking about the win, the Padres 11-2 win. Of course, he has the locker right next to him, right? And so perhaps he was having some fun with him as well. But I think you could sense from Fernando saying, this is why they signed us. Not to go ahead and break records, but to be here for a long time and to set and shatter all these Padres records, because we're going to be with this team. We're not going to be traded. We have these no-trade clauses, and Fernando reminded us more than once or twice. Yeah, me and Manny, we're going to be here for 8 more years. In case you guys were wondering.
I do. I think that is commentary about ownership. I do think that is commentary on A.J. Preller bringing in the kind of players. Not one, right? Like, not one guy. Like, because you look at the record book sometimes, it's Tony Gwynn and a bunch of, who? You know what I mean? That Phil Nevin's a friend of ours, and we like Adrian Gonzalez. So, I don't mean that as a slight towards the guys that came here, wore the uniform, or what have you. But I do think there is something to be said about bringing in two guys, and whether you like Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis Jr., one or the other or both or neither, it's not the point. The point is that is something, that symbol of one. Hey, Mud Grant. Hey, everybody, that's Mark Grant.
You want to say something about Fernando Tatis, about Nate Colbert's record being broken? Did you ever think that would happen as a Padres broadcaster?
Back in the day, no, because there weren't the lengthy contracts that they gave, and a lot of guys came and went. So now that we have the solid core, yeah, I'm glad to see it. And shock it to you, D. Smith. See you, Slappy.
Hey. There's so many things that I say to Mud when I'm not on the microphone that I almost just said there. That was Mark Grant, everybody, if you're listening to the audio podcast, since Marty's at the press box.
I am. In the lunchroom.
And he's right, because, we saw these guys come so close, and then there goes Phil Nevin, he gets traded to the Rangers, and there goes Adrian Gonzalez, and they can't keep him, so they trade him to the Boston Red Sox. You could say that long-term contracts are the bane of this organization's existence, but, at times like this, I do think it's it's better than the alternative, especially when you see those two guys in particular, add their names to the list of some of the all-time greats that have ever played in this franchise.
Let's go ahead and hear from Fernando Tatis, Darren, before we go ahead and get into our ownership update. Here we go.
A couple times, but Manny, it's kind of where this franchise was reborn. You've got a ways to go to catch him, but what does it mean to you?
Just the beautiful thing is we got nine or 8 more years of this, but who's counting? But man, that's just speak volume. What happened since we got here, and the way we go of our business, the way we love this game, how we just put everything of our body, dedication, work ethic, just go out there and show consistency and be at the top of the franchise that give us opportunity. It's just off the chart.
How much more capable do you feel of making moments like you have been making? Just big bombs.
It's just, I feel like it just comes with my human nature of playing baseball. I feel like I'm just grateful for those moments, and I appreciate them all the time. Never gets old. And man, I'm just blessed to play this beautiful game of baseball, and just dedication and the hard work is definitely paying off.
Yeah, that's what we talk about a lot with Fernando. Is he's a player earlier this year, it wasn't terrible statistically. But you're like, what is
moments. Where are the moments at? Where are the moments?
Some memorable moments for Fernando.
Yep.
Who curiously is not playing in the series finale. Maybe we'll get some information on that later. Hopefully it's just a day off. I don't know. And Marty, lastly, you're at Petco Park, and it sounds like there's some, there's more details coming out about ownership that we actually, I think we have some dates, and we have an expectation of when we're going to see Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano introduced.
Right, apparently a vote on Monday, right? The Padres will be in New York for the Met series, correct? So I guess the owners are going to vote via Zoom, and I don't think they'll be introduced, of course, when the team is on the road. You want to have a big celebration or a big party or red carpet at Petco Park. We know the Padres have an off day on Thursday, so perhaps maybe we'll see them on Friday when they return home versus the Minnesota Twins. But yeah, that's exciting. Exciting that we finally have finality and some faces and some voices and questions to ask them. Burning questions, Darren. Lots of burning questions.
Well, John Seidler got himself in that final
photo. I noticed that. Padres had picture day on Tuesday. The whole team goes out there. I saw John Seidler coming, the way in, big old photo. And I was thinking, that's maybe symbolic. That's the final. Maybe they did that on purpose. Now, I don't know if the Padres usually take photo day on, early, like on August 10th or August 11th, but perhaps they did that to make sure that Seidler got in for the team ownership photo one last time.
I think it's usually in August. It's usually after the trade deadline, right?
Okay.
Because I seem to remember some guys like, hey, this guy just got here, and now it's like, run out to the field, assume your position. Yeah, there was some interesting. We can discuss it on a different show. I thought there was some interesting images from the team photo. Just zoom in on AJ Preller, everybody. That's all I would say. Just zoom in on AJ Preller. His posture is always interesting.
Always interesting. Right. Hey, by the way, before we wrap up, okay, when I walked into Petco Park on Wednesday, I saw something outside that I have not seen actually ever. Here's the image, if I have it. Oh, that's not it. It's
tiebreakers.
Okay, look at this. There's a picture there of Fernando Tatis Jr. with a banner above him that says, "Season ticket members, don't lose your spot. Renew at member headquarters located in section 105." That was interesting because, I just think that right now we're talking about the ownership change and the things that they have to deal with, right? There's a lot of uncertainty looming over this offseason. So I just wonder how hesitant were season ticket holders, because at one point, buyers, sellers, what's going to happen? What do we know about this new ownership group? Oh, and then, by the way, there might be a lockout. So I just wonder, how many fans are kind of waiting to see what happens before they decide whether or not they want to renew their season tickets. I haven't seen that before.
Can you put that picture back up?
Yeah. Hang on one second.
Wow, look at that SeatGeek ad right behind
Yeah,
you.
SeatGeek, baby. It's everywhere you go, all over Petco Park.
Yeah, I mean, you could be a season ticket member, or right behind you, there's an alternative. It's SeatGeek. There you go. You know, feels like we're all working together on this.
We are.
Yeah, I don't know.
We are.
It's an
Weird
interesting
times.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting question. I mean, I can't confess to laying up late at night worrying about season ticket renewals myself, but I suppose it's something to consider for a show somewhere down the road.
100%.
Yeah, that's their business side. So. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Mark Grant for the cameo appearance. Mud's seen a lot of baseball here. He's seen a lot of these guys.
He has.
Moved on from. So that's why I said Mud's seen as much of it as anybody. Longer than us, crying about this every day for 20 years. I don't know why. It like delights me more than it probably should.
And now you can sleep at night, Darren. You've had 2.5
Feels like
years
a real
of
franchise. Otherwise, you're like, what
sleep.
is this? Like, how is this guy still the record holder?
How does it start with a 1? How does it start with a 1? At least Manning's at 217.
Jeff Conine had more, like with the Marlins. You're like, this is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And
Congratulations,
finally,
Darren, and Fernando, and Manny.
It's really more about me than it is about those guys. But, we'll save that again. For a totally different conversation, for Marty, Caswell, and Darren Smith, thank you very much. Please do support Friar Territory. You can subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your audio
Please
podcasts.
subscribe. That's important. YouTube's changing a lot of
Yes.
different things right now. We would like to ask you, thank you for listening, but please subscribe, like us on YouTube. We appreciate it.
Stay cool out there, San Diego. Stay hydrated, everybody. We'll see you next time in Friar Territory.